Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, just depending on where your time zone is. And welcome to Rising Tides Live. I'm Jason E. Brooks, and I'm excited to host today's conversation. Now, first, a little bit about myself. I'm a keynote speaker, two times author, 30 plus year restaurant veteran, host a podcast, and also founder of CoachLens.ai. And I have been asked, voluntold, no, really, I actually volunteered to be the host for today's show. Now, we are streaming live on YouTube, on LinkedIn. Make sure you check us out. Even if this is a replay, check it out. And we're going to dive into a topic that's on both sides of this community, operators and tech builders. It's one of the biggest problems in hospitality tech, to be quite honest. And most people don't talk about it directly. It's the last mile problem. And here's what I mean by that. In a demo, training deck, sales call, almost any tech solution looks clean, efficient, and intuitive. But once it hits a real restaurant, the walk in, the expo, the drive through window, the Saturday night rush, everything changes. The tool that seemed perfect on paper suddenly runs into noise, turnover, competing priorities, and a team that's just trying to keep their head above water. On the tech side, though, most builders feel the same frustration. They solved a real problem. They put in the work and they believe in what they built. But adoption stalls. It doesn't get used consistently. The operator, they revert back to their old habits. The gap between idea execution, the idea and the execution. Now there's a bottleneck. That's what I call that last mile, the handoff from this is a great solution to this actually works in the trenches. And that's part of the journey of where tools succeed or they die. And today we're going to dive into why this gap exists, what both sides misunderstand about each other, and what it really takes for a solution to survive whenever the tech hits real conditions in the restaurant. So let's bring everyone onto the stage. Let's get this round table started. I see Laura Wilbur is in the house. How's it going? Elizabeth Doss, Dean, L-A, capital B-A-Y, Spencer, Michael, Brendan, Lehigh. No, Leahy?
Close. Leahy.
I'm going to get it right by the end of this show. That's true Shawn Walchef in life right there. Misspelling names and mispronouncing them. And then Bruce Nelson as well. Thank you all. So let's take a few minutes and everyone give a brief intro. You are what you're doing on this Wednesday. I'll pause. Whoever wants to go first.
I'll start. Jason, so good to see you. Good to see you, everybody. I'm Laura Wilbur, and I believe showing up is 80% of success. Thank you all for showing up today in this community. And when we show up consistently, we're unstoppable. For my business, I'm in the business of showing up for my restaurant clients and bringing friends. And by friends, I mean 20 million expense account diners looking for great restaurants for dine-in, carry out, catering, and private events. Today, what I'm working on, I'm getting ready to do a presentation for some of the Buyer's Edge platform folks. Our company, Dinova Corporate Dining, was recently acquired by Buyer's Edge platform. Brendan, shout out to Brendan. I think Brendan's already seen have you already seen one of the pitches?
I have, yep.
Okay. So I have to jump off this call a little bit early to be able to be part of that. But really excited. The other thing I'm working on, guys, is Elizabeth inspired me to give myself a challenge to meet with 26 brand new restaurants before 2026. And so far, since I accepted that challenge for myself, I've met with 10 brand new restaurants. So I appreciate each of you and everyone listening, because I posted it on LinkedIn and several people made warm introductions for me, and I'm so grateful for that. And I'm excited about today's topic. So I don't have a ton to contribute as far as that last mile, Jason. So I'm really here to learn about, what the experience is like for my clients, and what type of recommendations can I make for them from the tech side. Our solution at Dinova Corporate Dining is really operationally invisible. So we get restaurants into company policy, where their corporations are driving their expense account diners into their official partners as part of company policy. So we're not in their POS, we're not in their credit card processor. There are no tablets or, loyalty cards or any work whatsoever for staff or guest. So if we're looking for a frictionless tech type solution, this is definitely one for any restaurants looking for guest acquisition and retention to drive early and midweek sales and higher average checks.
No, that's good. I still think that it's very relevant. Even with your business, you still have to get your clients to consistently use it and do it. It doesn't per se have to deal with just restaurants. It is from how we solve that problem, and knowing that it does solve it, to how do the people that use it bring it into their ecosystem and really use it at its best to do even more than what they thought that it could solve. So I still think it's very relevant. Thank you, Laura. That is amazing. We are going to get back to you. Let's bring on now Elizabeth Doss. Tell everyone who you are, what your business is about, and what you're doing on this Wednesday.
Yeah, sure. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Currently in Montana. I have my husband's out hunting for elk, mule deer, and I'm staying with friends. We have friends here that own this hotel, but they also help manage operations for hotels across the country. So if anybody is looking for, I'm going to plug them this one first. But if anybody's looking for hotel management for operations, accounting, personnel, all the stuff, please check out nbehospitality.com and tell them I sent you. My name is Elizabeth Doss, and I am a social media content creator, social media manager. But my main realm is to work in animated GIFs. I'm a verified artist with Giphy. My GIFs have been viewed over 6 billion times, and I help brands create their own libraries of GIFs to be searchable across social media platforms, and a great way to interact with their community, etc. Today, I'm working on illustrations for a very, I've signed an NDA, so I can't say who it is, but it's a internationally known jewelry company that is working on their internal training program and trying to make that more creative and fun for their retail associates to have to take the training. And so we are incorporating illustrations and animations and other things in that. So that's what I've been working on this morning, which is super fun. I hope someday I actually get to talk about it, which would be fabulous. But in reference to your last mile, because obviously I'm not working in restaurant tech, you're going to find some people on here, I promise you, Jason, that's working that do restaurant tech. But when you're talking about this last mile mentality, I was thinking it's so true even in my own business. And so even for people on the call, maybe you're not in restaurant tech, but you do have a last mile situation. So for myself, it's when I create this library of GIFs for a brand, and I've had a person in a corporation get so excited and then assign it to someone else than for me to have to teach them about this. And the whole like difficulty is that last mile of, are you actually implementing these? Are you DMing these to people? Are you putting them in an email the way you can? And so I'm realizing, even as you're talking, am I doing my part to cover that last mile in encouraging or giving out challenges to my clients in the past to say, hey, I challenge you to comment on Instagram with your gifts on 3 accounts that you want to be seen by. And so how can I think about what last mile looks like in my own business? And am I creating content? Am I having conversations that actually encourage the implementation? Because like you said, sometimes it's somebody up here that's bought this and they just hand it off. And the other person's like, what? Why are you giving me one more thing to do? And they don't give them the value of what it can do. And therefore it never gets implemented correctly because the excitement is not there. And so anyway, super curious about what you think about when somebody just plops it on someone's desk and says, here's a new tech thing for you to handle. And our tech companies, because they pitch to the first person, but do they have a protocol for how to assist the people that are actually going to be implementing it into the strategies? Anyway, so I will hand things back to you. Thanks for letting me chat.
I love that. And I love the way that you have defined the different meanings of last mile, because some may think last mile is that last stretch to closing that account. But let's be honest, the last mile is also, how do we get it fully implemented into their brand to where they are using it in the best way possible? And that can be 30, 60, 90 days after we have brought them on, after onboarding. What does that last mile look like to make it real in their business? Excellent. Okay, now let's move on to Dean. Dean, tell everyone who you are. Tell them about your business and what you're doing on this Wednesday.
My name is Dean LaBay, LA_BAY. I'm coming to you from New Orleans, the hospitality capital of the world. Basically, the last mile. I don't know. Maybe I'm a little bit older. 30 years ago, 40 years ago, the last mile was just in time delivery. Just in time inventory, just in time. That's what it means to me. Now I'm here to learn, but a lot about what Elizabeth said is true. Today's, with the technological and digital hospitality world that we live in, the last mile is actually past that. It's past the last mile. It's past, once you get the signature, it's about the last mile. For me, like a sale, is when the check gets to the bank and it's cashable. That's the last mile. Then the journey's been completed on one sales end. But I don't know, it's changed. Spencer talked about this a couple of weeks ago. There's a lot of software and SaaS out there that, basically sits on the shelf. People don't use it because it was never implemented. It was never used. They were never shown how to use it. So, I think going into 2026, a lot of people are going to take that last mile and shorten it down a little bit, and how they make it work. Bruce always talks about, if it doesn't save you time, why are you using it? And so, it's pretty cut and clear. The restaurant industry's never been more competitive than it is right now. And everybody's looking to save a dollar. Everybody's looking to save money. And we've got a lot of silver-tongued devils out there that promise you the whole buffet line, and they're really serving grits down at the end, and that's about it. So anyway, I'm gonna leave it there, and I'm just gonna listen in. Thanks, Jason.
Gotta watch those buffet lines that end with just grits. It's a real thing. Dean, awesome. Always a pleasure. Brendan, tell everyone who you are. Tell us about your business and what you're doing on this Wednesday.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks a lot. So Brendan Leahy, I'm with Consolidated Concepts. We are the GPO arm of the Buyer's Edge platform that Laura mentioned earlier. So it's pretty funny, that I know she's not on anymore, but we've recently partnered with Dynova, and so it's really cool that actually, I met Laura on this podcast. Now it's probably 3 or 4 weeks ago, before we even partnered. And then, it happened very quickly. And we met again shortly after that first podcast that I was on. So really cool. We've had some other conversations as well. And so, from my end, going off that topic, been working a lot with them and other individuals from Dynova, just to kind of see where we can align on different partnerships and where we can, start to bring value to each other. So I'm excited for that partnership and to see where that brings us both. And then, Elizabeth made a good point earlier too, in regards to the last mile here. And I think from our end, Jason, I'm not sure if you're familiar, but, for what we do, we can provide immediate savings to our partners through rebates and deviated pricing. But what really brings value is continuing to, stay engaged with the account managers that we have and continuing to, see the new savings we can find or new value added services that we have in our portfolio today. So I think that would be the quote unquote last mile for us. So Elizabeth, I appreciate your input there. And then, in regard to tech, it's pretty cool. I actually brought on a close connection of mine today, Trevor Mangoya, because one of his, where he works and his tech solution is a true last mile kind of product. And so I saw the topic for today, and it was perfect to bring him in and introduce him to the community here. So I'm excited to kind of have him on here.
Thank you, Mr. Leahy. And definitely, that's something that we need to think through is, when adoption does break down most often, is it training? Is it workflow? Is it culture? Is it something else? Is it that we gear it towards that top executive, but not the end case user? There's a lot of different questions. So definitely that root cause, thinking through that. Whenever what we have gets passed on, or that product that we've built, we put our heart in knowing that it fixes problems. When it does break down, getting to that root cause is very important. Mr. Nelson, let's bring you on now. Tell everyone who you are, about your business, and what you're doing on this Wednesday, and then your thoughts on that last mile.
You got it. I'm Bruce Nelson, fractional CFO. Right now, I am knee deep into 2026 budgets, and busy today following up from all of the activities I did last week at RFDC in Las Vegas. Whenever I come back from an event like that, I always have a backlog of individuals I need to follow up on. So that's really what I've been doing all week. On the last mile, boy, I have lived both sides of this. 45-year restaurant operator, so I've bought a few software solutions over my career. But I also, in a past life, used to sell point of sale systems for digital dining. So I know what it's like to also be on the sales side of this as well. So I can address both of these. Yeah, I think the big challenge for, as you mentioned, Jason, we get hooked into the pretty picture that's sold to us. The salesman comes in and gives us what the software will do, and it all looks great in that environment. But when we plug it in, getting that last part done at the store is by far the most difficult. And it often, from my perspective, seems to have to do with, can we get, the buy-in in from the people at the store level to do it? Oftentimes it's ownership or the managers that make decisions on these softwares because they're looking for a solution, but they haven't truly brought their staff into the process. So now they're trying to run a shift. They're trying to cover whatever's going on. And the owners say, okay, by the way, you now have to learn this software. And they end up butting heads. From the software side, we now know with SaaS products, if we don't get a customer utilizing that product within the first 30 days, the likelihood that that product will churn and they'll lose that sale is pretty high. So a lot of software companies now, that when they are working really hard after the sale to make sure that they are staying engaged, because they need those customers to now get engaged with that software, or else they're going to lose them.
Yeah, I mean, that is a really great point. That kind of hidden cost of just selling and not thinking through the implementation side. And I'm glad you put a time frame behind that of 30 days, that if it does not become consistent in 30 days, then you can call that a wash probably within the next 90 days. And that's very important, whether it's a pilot program or a full rollout. Either which way, by the time it comes back to re-signing, that might be a very lost client. So I'm glad you have both perspectives, and that's an amazing lens you have from the restaurant operator side and from
Mhm.
the POS sales side, and fully understanding that. And that's something that we need to think through more with our business and our potential clients. Bruce, thank you. I am going to come back to you though, but up
Good.
next, I want to bring up Spencer. Spencer, glad to see you. Tell everyone who you are, about your business, what you're doing on Wednesday, and your thoughts on that last mile.
Yeah, thank you for stepping up here, Jason. Appreciate it. Great job so far. Funny, Bruce, we probably competed against each other because we have similar backgrounds in the POS sales game. We were probably head to head at one point. So Spencer Michael with backofhouse.io. We help restaurants find the right technology solution that's going to work for them. We've got a large marketplace of all different kinds of tech. You can check it out, or you can contact me or my team, and we will help you, walk you through the process and help you find what's going to be right for you. So this hits obviously kind of right where we are at Back of House, because we help customers not only find the right solution, but then we talk about the implementation in a way. And I think we could do a better job of it. I think that the software companies could do a better job of it. And I think to Bruce's point, the restaurant operators, management, owners could also set their staff up when these new systems are coming into place, because with point of sale is usually going to be the most robust piece of software that touches all aspects of your business. Or maybe an inventory management and food cost solution is a big piece as well. But the point of sale, if you've been a server, that is a good chunk of your job, is navigating that screen as quickly and efficiently as you possibly can, understanding the verbiage that goes back to the kitchen, understanding how the communication between the two all kind of translates from that terminal into the back. And when you switch to something new or updated, you're not only just switching to, okay, we've got a better system coming in place, but this is now a new way of doing your job. You've been doing it this way for the past 15 years, or maybe longer, or maybe even shorter. But now we're putting an entirely new piece of another new tool in place that you have to relearn, and you have to start all over again. And you're always going to get resistance, especially from your long-term staff, which are usually the most important. And when I coach my customers through this, I say, look, you're going to get pushback. You're going from XYZ system, which is really something you need to move off of, to a brand new system in place. And you're going to get pushback on this immediately. And it's probably going to last maybe 2-3 weeks, maybe a month, depending on what, how painful it is to switch over. But then once you cross that threshold, it's going to be the exact opposite. Like, thankfully, you put this into our in place, because this is so much better. Now that I've figured it out, it's a much better solution. And so that threshold that needs to be crossed, I think, and it really needs to be adopted by all the stakeholders and not just the staff. It's got to be adopted by the ownership, as Bruce said, just letting your staff know, like, look, we've made a decision for the business. We think it's the right thing to do. We understand that this is going to throw a giant wrench into your day-to-day operations, but we're with you in this. We're going to help you through it, and it's going to be all right. Trust us. And I think that last mile check-in might be something that the software companies and what we could do at back of house might be something we should probably adopt 6 months down the road. Okay, where are we at? Do we need any further assistance? Because we gave you the training, and then we sent you out the door to say, like you just sent your kid off to school. But now, okay, let's do some homework. Let's bring it back and see what happened. Where can we help with? Where can we provide assistance? And where are the pitfalls? And then that should be probably a standard process for a lot of these companies to be able to just add that level of service down the road. And I think, calling it, I've never heard it called last mile. I was like, Dean, it was, last mile was logistics and delivery. But this is a great way to put it. Let's do that last mile check-in. Where are we at? How are things? What's going on? How can we set you up so you're a customer for the next 10 years?
Yeah, I don't think anyone from either side wants that churn. I don't think that the client, operator, restaurant, retail, tech company, it doesn't matter who that the client is. No one wants the churn of another product being rolled out, not validated, not being done consistently, then being phased out, and then something else brought in. It's too much disruption. And we that make that new product, that new tech, that new service, we don't want that churn either. We don't want to have to keep losing great partnerships that we built because we know that this can help them. So having that lens, having that view of how can we make that last mile last longer, put in more safeguards, make it run better, more communication, better training, better follow-up 6 months down the road, whatever that time frame is. But there is a huge cost to it, hidden and sometimes not on both sides. And when we can meet in that middle to where consistency is met on the front lines, that's whenever we can actually make things work. Trevor, let's bring you in. Tell everyone who you are, about your business, what you're doing on this Wednesday, and your thoughts on the last mile. You are on
here.
The non-mic. There we go.
And here we are.
Yes.
Yeah, happy to be here. Thanks, guys. I work for Nash AI. We're a delivery orchestration platform. We work across all different industries, so retail, QSR, pharmacy, you name it. So obviously, with us being in restaurant here, that's the focus of today. We work with companies like Kava, Edible Arrangements. So essentially, when we ingest an order through their first party, we optimize which DSP takes it, whether it's their internal fleet, whether it goes out to X company, B, and we have partnerships with about 600, 700 global, which we are a global company. So if you think about McDonald's, for example, they're a global company. They need DSPs across the world, and you're going to need multiple systems to track that. And there's not a unified data model, which is able to normalize that data when it gets ingested by a company like Nash. So we're able to do that. So they have one system across the world, ingesting and putting out and optimizing their routes, DSPs, it's funny, we started in catering. So I saw that we had, I think it was Maddie Smokes in here earlier, Pitmaster. So catering's a very interesting one as well, because that's, a lot of the time it needs to be perfectly in that window for that delivery. So, you're going to pay a little bit more for a catering service that's going to nail that and have a very high reliability score. So it's an interesting thing where, you guys are talking about the final mile or the last mile of, getting things implemented. that's very much a hand-holding process with us when we start working with a company. We sit down, we create all these workflows, and so that when it's implemented, you can kind of sit back and watch the magic happen as an order comes in and it says, okay, this is $140 catering order. This is going to go down to this delivery provider. So it's a very complex, expensive piece. Like Spencer said, I focus last mile in the delivery and logistics piece of it. And in that last mile accounts for 40% of the supply chain. So what we've done with the customers on average is we're dropping that cost per delivery by about 20%, and we're getting their on-time rates above 99%. So it's a very interesting problem that we're solving. And, we have out-of-the-box solutions, but we're also working with companies to build out solutions unique to their needs. So it's been a very, very fun company to work with. Yeah, very excited to continue chatting about it here with you guys.
Good stuff. Well, I, like Elizabeth, can ingest a cucumber mint drink from Kava any time of the day. So that is what's up.
Hey, Jason.
Yes, sir.
Let me ask Trevor a question real quick. I probably know this, but I can't. My brain's not working real good right this minute. DSP. What does that stand for?
It's a delivery service provider. So
Okay.
Uber Eats.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm from old school. I hear all these,
the acronyms.
Yeah, when I got back on LinkedIn, I heard BDR, SDR, and I was like, man, what the hell is this? Because I was a
that's me.
salesman. Yeah, yeah. So anyway, that's cool. And also, Jason, before we get too much further, Bruce, tell me about these new digs you got, man. What's going on there? You got your new place?
Well, it's interesting. I rent space at a place called LifeWorks in downtown Minneapolis, and it's a shared workspace. They approached me a month ago, and they said, well, what do you need? And I said, boy, I could really use a podcast studio. So they've created this, and you are all seeing the inaugural podcast from this studio. So I hope I sound good. Unfortunately, the cameras are actually better than I need. So that may
Bruce,
be a bit of a
you
problem.
sound good and you look sexy. So that's all great.
Thank you.
So we're all so jealous. So jealous.
Can someone come ask me what I need and I will, and then they make it happen? That's amazing.
Well, yeah, this is the first time I actually got, people behind the camera, helping adjust things, the lighting, the sound. So yeah, it's kind of fun.
That is last mile service right there. Hell.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness.
Actually, that's a really great point, Jason, with Bruce, that this company that he's been a loyal participant in, for them to come back and say, hey, you're somebody who comes here and one of our consistent, and then they're coming back in and seeing what else do you need, like what Spencer was saying, like check in 6 months afterwards, because you may get that feedback that can help adjust it. Somehow I have gotten on to being a beta tester for a lot of random things like Canva and Walmart AI. And I think it's because I say yes when they ask. Pinterest, like some of these other ones that are trying to test out stuff. And they really do want that feedback from people who are actually in the trenches and digging around. But if you're not checking in and helping out, you may miss an opportunity. Because not only Bruce is going to use this, I'm sure there are other people. I mean, they've just created another revenue income space for them. It's something Scott Turner, I'm doing some work for him with Auden Hospitality. They're hoteliers in London, UK. And something they've been talking about is these missed opportunities, like within hotels, et cetera. And so they're talking to a lot of hotels about creating podcast studios in some of their vacant areas because they can rent that space out and make a whole other thing there. But that check-in too is a part of that last mile thing, I think, too. Anyway, very cool. Back to you, Jason. Sorry, random.
Nope, that's awesome. Dean?
No, I was just going to say, Izzy, the reason people are asking you, I don't know very many people that's got 6 billion. Is it billion now?
Views.
Yeah. So, hey,
Wow.
that might have something to do with it, but that's just me.
Indeed. If I could monetize those, that'd be amazing. Those views.
That would be amazing. Okay, so we can see here that first last mile means means a lot of things. It definitely means getting up to getting the yes and signing the dotted line and getting to get the product to that new client. The last mile is also how do they adopt it? How can we make sure that they consistently use it the way that it is supposed to be, whether that's restaurant tech or any other tech, any other product or service. We now see that what is it that we are also asking 6 months down the road on where they're at with that product and what can we do differently for them. So is there any frontline behavior or any kind of surprises that you saw when your customers really started using your product? Can anyone think of like, man, whenever I built this, I was thinking through this 6 months in, 9 months in, once their team started really getting into it, I was surprised that this came out of it. That last mile that was unknown. Can anyone think of something about your product that you saw that your clients, your customers did that was different than what you ever thought it could be?
I don't know if I have like a specific example, but I think that
Yeah.
what I've seen be effective when implementing new tech or anything, really anything, any new idea that you want to put forth is reverse engineering from the very end goal. So in 6 months, this is where we want to be. And let's work backwards from that to all the steps that need to be in place to get to that moment. And then let's put a timeline that by this, so then we'll work back up the scale to say in a month, we need to be here. And in 2 months, we need to be here. And then, so it lets you sort of get the ideation out about how we get to that point and then put the timeline in, and then you can get started and you've just got that guideline to get you forward.
I love that. That is a great way of project management to succeed, not to launch, but to actually succeed and to be at that moment of not just adoption, but problem being solved. And now what does it look like as we step back to get to that moment of kumbaya? Love that. Anyone else? Some great topics for today, some great thoughts. So I think that it is time for us to kind of shift into tip, takeaway, homework. This is where we, of course, think through what is it, that thing that I heard, that aha moment that is like, yep, that's my takeaway, or here's a tip that I did not get to speak on, or homework, something that you're going to do starting tomorrow. Let's start with Elizabeth.
Well, as somebody who creates content for other people, I have managed to so go slack on my own channels and on my own conversations, etc. So this is a really nice motivation kick in the pants, if you will, to think through how can I create content that is a short form invitation to further things. Jason Berkowitz is on here a lot, and he talks about microdose learning. And so how could you continue the conversation with these little microdose moments rather than trying to sit? Because in response to your earlier question about how has the cart and the horse situation, where I go back, and what I find is when a corporation does a team training, I learn a lot from their team about how they might implement the animated GIFs and things like, for instance, a real estate company I had done gifts for. We made a happy birthday that was branded to them and to their region. They were on the beach, so it was the ocean animating on, and then like happy birthday coming back, but it has their logo, their stuff on it. And realizing that as real estate agents, they're always looking for a way to have a touch point with it being organic and not them just always cold calling out to people. But if they started to keep track of birthdays, and so they were kind of talking amongst themselves how they could use different holidays. And so that got me thinking, okay, well then I need to start creating little greeting cards as an option for people to opt in on. And so it kind of like reverse engineered that just a little bit. So now I do like a holiday package where now you have plenty of content through the next couple of weeks of happy Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's and all the things. Anyway, so that idea of retrofitting that, but how could I create little challenges or create little microdose learning for my past clients so that I can build up that library for people to come. So anyway, that's what's making me think is instead of trying to give them the entire encyclopedia of it, give them bite-sized challenges and creating content around that. So anyway, that's my homework assignment. Thank you, Jason, so much. I will hand it back to you.
Micro dose learning. Mr. Leahy, takeaway homework.
I think homework for myself. I think just speaking to this community here. I've already met with a handful of people. Again, I've been here for a short time, but it's already, there have been so many other connections that have been made through one or two or three people from this community. And so I think for me, it's just continuing to just, reach out to others who I haven't met. Because, besides just the obvious fact of connecting with others, it leads to so much more. And it's, it broadens my horizons too of, what's out there and other partnerships potentially as well. So I think that's for me, it's just might be a simple ask or task, but I think that's something that I want to, keep doing here.
Heard. Bruce, takeaway homework.
All right, my tip, since I mentioned I buy a lot of different software and SaaS products, my tip is we tend to spend a lot of time looking at a particular solution and what it's going to bring to us. I do it the other way around. I spend about 10% of my time trying to understand, will that solution work? And 90% of my time trying to figure out who is the company behind this product. We know we're going to run into problems. Nothing goes smoothly, but the integrity of the company behind will determine whether or not that's the right buy. Is it just a couple of kids building this thing in their garage and they just want to, monetize it as fast as possible? Or is there a real company behind it that has a long-term objective? And it's been my experience when we find the right company, the solution they offer is often the right one as well.
Thank you, Bruce. Dean, takeaway homework.
100% what Bruce just said. We live in a world where everything's at our fingertips, and my tip, homework, takeaway, whatever, is keep coming back, keep bringing people with you. We've got an extraordinary community that started on Clubhouse, but what Bruce is saying there is true. There's a lot of technology out there, but you have to dig a little deeper. Who's behind it? What is their reasoning? What's their why? If it's just to, exit out, in 5 years, is that really who you want to be with? I don't know, but I know this. I know that there's certain people that I can call on today, and they'll tell me, the right answer. They won't tell me what I want to hear. They'll tell me, well, no, Dan, you really shouldn't use this. You should use this, X, Y, Z. And that's what this community has brought to me. It's transparent, it's honesty, and it's upfront. And it's because of this community that I'm in New Orleans doing what I do. Hell, I work for Shawn Walchef. I mean, that's a pretty good deal. So, I'm just glad to be here, and 100% what Bruce says. Thanks.
His homework is do your homework. Spencer, tip, takeaway, homework.
A very Canadian reference you had just there, Jason, by calling Brendan Mr. Leahy. I don't know if anybody else picked up on that from the Trailer Park Boys.
Fun fact, Spencer, that was actually my nickname on mine and Trevor's college hockey team. I was Jim Leahy. So yeah, thanks for calling that out there.
No, hey, my pleasure. I did. Yeah. I couldn't. as soon as Jason said, "Oh, Mr. Leahy," I'm like, "Oh, you got to be kidding me! I got to say something." And of course, your hockey team nicknamed you something from the Trailer Park Boys. Love that. If you don't know what we're talking about, please go search it out and see some of the clips. Or don't, because I don't know if Brendan wants to be compared to that drunken buffoon, Mr. Leahy. But my homework assignment, I think I feel that I'm going to bring this to my team, because apparently we don't have enough to do. I'm sure they'll love this. That I think we should start doing these last mile check-ins. I think this should be part of our next steps I think we get into like, okay, we found you the right thing. There you go. Best of luck. Call us if there's a problem. I don't think that's the right. I mean, I think we're developing our team, because we are still fairly new at what we do. I think this is something we're going to implement. We're going to call you in 3 months or whatever it might be. We're going to connect again. And I want to get your honest feedback about what's happening once we implemented this particular piece of software. So, I hope my team's watching this live on LinkedIn and be like, oh my God.
Something else.
So more meetings. Oh,
Good stuff. Good stuff. Thank you, Spencer. Trevor, tip, takeaway, homework.
Yeah. Before I do my takeaway homework, I want to piggyback on what a lot of you have talked about, which is that post-purchase experience. And it's funny, the company I came from before, there wasn't a whole lot of it. And the company that I'm at now, Nash, I've been very fortunate to work with some super smart people, MIT, Stanford, some pretty amazing folks. And it goes from the top down. And my colleagues on the sales side of things and customer success, we're still meeting daily with customers who have been signed on and implemented for the last 3 months. And it has brought up things that we found that we didn't know we needed for them. And by these daily check-ins, even if it's like a 10-minute, hey, how you doing? It keeps that relationship open. You don't ever feel like you're stepping on each other's toes. And I think it's such a massively overlooked point of the sale. So that's my 2 cents on that. I think it's extremely important. Love that y'all are talking about it. My homework for the day, for the week, whenever, is kind of, again, piggybacking off of what Spencer said. I think that I need to do a better job of working backwards to attain a goal. I'm very run through the door, fast, hard, consistent type of person. And I think when I get stuck, I continue to push forward rather than, okay, I need to get here. What are the goals and steps that are going to get me there? So I'm going to start working backwards, and doing that, I think it allows you to take a step back, zoom out, and see everything in a larger view. And I think that's something that probably a lot of people could do. Everybody's working fast and furious, and with the Amazon effect, everybody expects things to happen next day, same day. And I think that's something I could be better at for sure. Something I'm going to continue to work on.
Love that. I love how that 6 month, 3 month, 30-day check-in is resonating. One tip I think I have is, for us to really think about picking one tool within our operation, one product, and really identify the single friction point that our frontline users dislike or have the most complications with, and fix that one thing this week. Small friction is usually the real failure point. That small repetitive friction that keeps coming back is that failure point between being a vendor of choice, a partner of choice. That is something that we really have to dive deep in right now, and fixing that one thing this week. So First, thanks to everyone who joined the discussion for today. Big thanks to this community for the insights. This is amazing. Of course, we'll be back on Friday for Pitch the Tide with Charlie Eblin from Single Tree Barbecue. You can find all upcoming shows and past episodes at feedtheshow.media/rising tides. Have a great rest of your week. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you on Friday. Thank you all.
Great job, Jason.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.